I've opened the Rocks1 sample file to talk about the scatter compound object. Here I'll show you how to scatter rocks on a landscape surface. I modeled the landscape with a quad patch that I later converted into a mesh. And I modeled the rock using a chamfer box with the noise modifier, which I later converted into a mesh. In order to scatter the rocks on the surface, you select the rock first. Then go to the Create panel and choose Compound Objects, Scatter. Pick the Distribution object and select the landscape. Immediately the rock moves over here into the corner of the landscape surface. We are distributing the rock using the distribution object. It's possible to distribute it using transforms only within this object. Right here is where you can control how many rocks that you're dealing with. Let's say that we have 20 rocks. They're scattered across the surface. Down here you control how that's done. I don't want them evenly scattered. I want them scattered across the area of the surface. Or perhaps random faces is better in this case. I want a more natural looking collection of rocks. I'll open the Transforms rollout, and here you can alter the objects as they're scattered. So perhaps I'll rotate the object 45 degrees in each direction randomly so that the rocks appear more naturally strewn about the landscape. You can translate them locally. That moves them. You can translate them on a particular face or scale them. Here I'm going to scale them 50%, and instead of typing in 50% in each one of these boxes, I'll just check Use Maximum Range, and it does that for me. In this way, some of the rocks will be 50% smaller than others, and some of them will be 50% larger, so that we get a more natural looking collection of rocks. In the display rollout, you can display the mesh objects in the screen, or you can display a proxy object that simplifies the display, and that speeds up your performance while you're working. However, when you render, it will be the mesh objects that show up. Here we have the rocks showing up in the rendering. So use scatter whenever you need to get a natural looking collection of objects on a surface. This would be very hard to do manually. It would be very tedious to scale and rotate each object just so. Scatter can save you a lot of time in situations like this.